All right, let's dive into a 3D program with a pretty radical goal: to make 3D modeling feel less like you're doing complex engineering and more like, well, just picking up a pencil and sketching. It's called Curvy 3D, and it's all about keeping you in that creative flow.
For so many creative people, this is the big one, isn't it? You've got this amazing idea in your head, you can draw it in 2D, no problem, but the second you open up most 3D software, you're just hit with this wall of menus and vertices and polygons. It can feel like your creativity just grinds to a halt. But that's the whole promise we're exploring today. What if you could just sweep all those technical barriers away? What if there was a tool that was actually designed to let you get straight to the fun part? The actual creating.
Let's be honest, traditional 3D modeling often feels like this slow, painstaking process. You're pulling individual points around, you're trying to manage all this complex geometry, and you're fighting with tools that, frankly, were not designed with a free, flowing artistic process in mind. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got that traditional, slow, point-by-point method. But look at the right. That's the Curvy 3D approach. You just draw a shape, and the software builds the volume for you. It's a huge shift from slow construction to immediate creation. So what is this alternative? Well, Curvy 3D was developed from the ground up to be an artist-friendly tool. The entire philosophy is about getting the technical stuff out of your way so you can model at the speed of your imagination. At its heart, Curvy 3D is a sculpting program really made for first-time 3D artists. The two keywords here are fast and non-technical. See, it's not trying to replace the big, complicated industry software. It's designed to be a powerful and, most importantly, accessible starting point for your ideas. Okay, so how does it actually work? Let's break down the core features that make Curvy 3D feel so different, because this is where the magic really happens. First up is something called sketch-based modeling. So instead of building a wireframe cage piece by piece, you just draw an outline, a contour, and the software immediately generates a fully rounded 3D model right from that simple drawing. The core idea is as simple as it gets: create whole models with just a few strokes. I mean, just imagine blocking out the basic form of a character in seconds, literally just by drawing its silhouette. That's the kind of speed we are talking about here. The next major feature is called volumetric merge. The best way to think about this is like working with digital clay. It lets you combine different shapes together and treat them as a single, unified object without any complicated steps. So you can attach arms to a torso and they just blend together into one continuous surface. But it also works in reverse, which is super cool. You can use one shape to carve whole right out of another, making it incredibly easy to create complex forms just by adding and subtracting stuff. So once you have your basic shape down, it's time to add the details. And Curvy 3D handles this with a feature called sculpting by painting. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. You use brush strokes to push, pull, and refine the surface of your model. This is all done using a set of warp brushes. You can inflate parts to add volume, deflate them to create grooves, pinch edges to make them sharper, or just smooth and flatten entire areas. It's a really intuitive toolkit that should feel super familiar to any 2D artist out there. Okay, so if this is sounding like the tool you've been waiting for, let's get into the practical side of things. How can you actually get your hands on it? So here's the key info at a glance. Curvy 3D is available on the Steam platform, and, this is important, it is a Windows-only program. And for anyone who's budget conscious, it's definitely worth noting that it has gone on sale for as much as 50% off in the past, so you might want to keep an eye out for that. But there's also a pretty clever way you can try it out, completely risk-free, using a feature you might already be familiar with. It's really simple. You can just use Steam's standard refund policy as a trial. You purchase the software, you test it out thoroughly, and as long as you've used it for less than 2 hours, you can request a full refund if it's not the right fit for you. Just be sure to watch the clock. Which brings us to the final question. Who is this really for? Is Curvy 3D the right tool to add to your creative arsenal? This software is pretty much ideal for a few key groups: aspiring 3D artists looking for an easy entry point, 2D artists who want to add another dimension to their work, and even game developers who just need to quickly create concept models. But really, it's for anyone who's ever been put off by the super steep learning curve of other 3D programs. And that's really what I want to leave you with. Think about those ideas you've had, those characters or worlds you've wanted to bring to life. Could a simpler, more intuitive tool be the key that finally unlocks all that potential?
Because at the end of the day, it's not about having the most complex software. It's about having the right tool to get your vision out of your head and into the world. And sometimes, the simplest tool can create the biggest ideas.